Welcome to Innovating Clinical Trials, the podcast designed for clinical research professionals eager to deepen their understanding of clinical trials through concise, insightful segments. Join your hosts, Liam Eves and Ted Trafford, as they uncover the core issues in clinical research, reflect on the industry, and challenge conventional wisdom.
Hey Ted, how are you doing, sir?
No, you know what? I've got a bit of a head cold, but other than that, I'm doing quite well. How about you?
I'm good. It's a good week. I'm feeling energized and raring to go for our conversation today.
Oh, I like the idea of you being energized because I've got something really energetic for you this morning.
Oh,
yeah.
Go for it.
We want to talk about site startup in clinical trials. So I've actually prepared something for you. So we'll just kick it off and dive right in.
Go for it.
And they're off. Reg docs take an early lead, followed out of the gate by IRB approval. IRB approval stumbles. Oh, that's going to put them behind. Reg docs charging ahead with a commanding lead, bringing up the rear is contract negotiation. Contract negotiation is barely out of the gate, just behind budget negotiation. We come up on the first turn with Reg docs still in the lead and staff training close on its heels. Staff training getting set to overtake Reg docs, and oh, staff training is having an equipment malfunction. That's going to put staff training behind. We've got Reg docs coming out of the turn, still in first place, followed by lab supplies. Staff training now in third, and IRB approval just ahead of budget negotiation. Contract negotiation brings up the rear and appears to be stopping for some unknown reason. Down the back straight with Reg docs in first, lab supplies in second, staff training in third. But staff training is making a move again, must have figured out the equipment malfunction. Here's staff training making a charge, passing lab supplies and closing in on Reg docs. Oh my goodness, what's happening now? Reg docs is pulling up. Staff training blows by, lab supplies now in second. Just getting word that the Reg docs horse had on a number that didn't match the jockey's number, and you have to fix that before the race ends. Staff training now in first, followed by lab supplies. IRB approval in third, followed at a distance by budget negotiation. And contract negotiation still stopped on the front straight. Nope. Contract negotiation has just started moving again. As they reach the final turn, we have staff training in first, lab supplies solidly in second, IRB approval in third, and the Reg docs horse has fallen to fourth. But it appears the jockey has received the new number for the horse and is putting it in place. Coming out of the turn, lab supplies followed by, wait, staff training just lost the jockey. Staff training slows to a walk as the jockey is lying on the ground. The jockey appears to have fallen asleep. Lab supplies now in the lead suddenly takes a wrong turn. Lab supplies going the wrong way. IRB approval takes the lead and Reg docs correct number in place is now charging. Look at Reg docs move. We're in the final stretch with Reg docs coming out of nowhere. Reg docs lapse contract negotiation and passing IRB approval to win the race. IRB approval coming across in a close second and no sign of who will finish in third. Contract negotiation still in last, but at least now moving. Lab supplies have left the track and is presumed lost. With Reg docs and IRB approval now done, budget negotiation is finally in the home stretch. And I have no idea when lab supplies will actually get to the finish line. The next race will have to wait, as it appears the staff training jockey is now awake, but for some unknown reason is forced to start over from the beginning. That's disappointing for fans, as the next race features crowd favorites, recruitment, enrollment, and retention.
There's two things that spring to mind. One, how the hell do you come up with these? And two, you missed the calling. You should have been a race commentator,
Horse race announcer. Yeah, no, it's just bizarre. You know, these weird things pop into my head, and I think they relate to clinical trials somehow. So, but you know, and this one, honestly, it really does, because there are so many issues with site startup in clinical trials, and I don't think a lot of sponsors and CROs really appreciate the impact that it has in studies.
No, it's such a crazy one, isn't it? Because it does. I mean, like you do with so many of these things, is that, as you say, putting them out of context, but they're in context. Like, it just sounds ridiculous, but it's so true.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so absurd when we think about putting in this kind of a format, but then we stop and think about what actually happens in clinical trials and how we can't get studies to start on time is just mind-boggling when you think about the money that's thrown at getting these studies started.
I've often wondered about this, of whether it's because we are rushing to get to, to kick things off, yet without much thought about how long will it actually take, and what's the end date? And if we focus there, and because there's so, like as you say, is that we can't plan and strategize until the cows come home, but we should do enough that actually we start, like there's a great saying that says something like slow is smooth, slow is fast, or something like this, some military saying where the idea being is that if you rush things, you will inevitably get it wrong. Whereas if you just take a little bit more time, put things in motion at the right time, you'll actually be quicker overall.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of issues there, and I've had the same conversation with sponsors so many times over the years, and the conversation goes something like this. The sponsor says, "Oh, the site committed to enrolling a certain number of participants in a clinical trial, and they're disappointed with the performance in the study." However, there's really no understanding on the sponsor's behalf that the impact that the study didn't start on time actually had on the sites. And the fact that, the site had candidates lined up for the study, but because the study didn't start when it was supposed to start, they lost those candidates. They had to go on other therapies, or they just lost interest. And yet the expectation is that the sponsor is going to, still meet that enrollment plan when the plan already went awry before they ever started.
Yeah, because I often like to, when working with biotechs and sites for that matter, is really locking down what your delivery plan is based upon, like what sort of assumptions are there, because if something changes, then you can at least point to that to say, listen, we expected, to start on X day and it was Y, and therefore we've lost, 30 days, 60 days, whatever the number is, and that has changed the game now.
Well, yeah, and I think it even goes back to how we communicate, and when sites get a selection letter for a clinical trial, that selection letter will say, and the study is planning to start December 2024, and here's the reg doc package and the final protocol and whatever else they send along with it. But the reality is that particular site, the plan never was for them to start December 2024, because sites get activated in clinical trials over a period of time. It could be weeks, it can be months to get everybody activated. And I think these letters need to go out with more thoughtful planning for that individual site. So the conversation should be, you've been selected, we're targeting this range, for startup. Let's have a discussion about what date we're going to set for your site, and then have everybody working towards that date.
Yeah. Well, and again, I think it allows you to, when you've got things that are, and mindful that you may have to send information out, but I like the idea of giving that range and saying, okay, we're hoping as it currently stands to be, kicking things off between these dates. We'll let you know sooner the time, because then at least, again, to that communication with patients is a great example, is that you can say, listen, we've got a study that's starting, it's looking to start in your example, in Q1 rather than December. And, we'll keep you updated and let you know, because I think that there's nothing quite as frustrating as it's the equivalent of waiting for a train and stood there and going, well, the train's going to be here. It says 2 minutes away, and then 2 minutes passes, and then you're like, well, I don't know when that train's coming now. It's a waiting game. And so there's, I mean, they did that. I think we may have spoken about this previously, but they did that with the London Underground, is that they actually put in, because people were getting frustrated and impatient of just not knowing, just the simple of communicating timelines that are relatively, accurate. It just puts people at ease. And as you say, it allows for those, we should be doing stuff. We should be doing more stuff like that to communicate better, for sure.
Yeah. And the impact that other aspects have on the clinical trial startup, I think, is also misunderstood, or the impact isn't really understood. And so I go for the example of vendors that are being contracted for clinical trials. And, increasingly we're seeing unreliable vendors being chosen for studies. And, we have training that just doesn't function properly. We have supplies that don't arrive on time. We have, portal just that site staff don't get access to, that they need in order to start the study. And the sponsor will say, hey, you're activated, you're good to go. And the site will say, well, wait a second, I don't have everything I need yet, or I can't access this portal I have to be able to access. And I've been waiting for months to get access. So it really is a multifaceted problem.
Yeah, I think it'd be great, wouldn't it, just to have a centralized checklist where your site can just upload what they've got, what they haven't got, and the sponsor can sort of see that easily.
Well, and even simple things like in some studies, the sites don't receive a master list of all the portals they're going to need access to. And to say, have in one place, here's all your portals, here's how to get access, here's who to contact if you have a problem.
Yeah. It is those little things, isn't it? It's not actually like the selection of technology is just one aspect. The actual painful bit is making sure that the logistics and the communication are in place to be able to service them.
Yeah, for sure.
Ted,
cool.
That was amazing, sir. I'm going to be putting your name in the hat for the next horse race announcer. I love it.
Amazing. Thanks, Liam.
Cheers. Bye.